Welcome to my next video. Don't forget to like and subscribe to follow more amazing content. This story is an emotional journey and confrontation with change. Beginning with a situation on the street, John, a white police officer, was on his regular patrol when he noticed a car driving in a somewhat suspicious manner. He decided to turn on the warning lights and signal the driver to pull over. The driver was Kevin, a young black man with a calm demeanor. But it was this very calmness that made John feel even more suspicious. With the mindset of a police officer accustomed to prejudice, John decided to act harshly, putting Kevin in an embarrassing situation. John forced Kevin to get out of the car, proceeded to check his documents, and his attitude was clearly reflected through his sarcastic and prejudiced words. Kevin, calmly, did not argue or respond, but politely handed over the required documents. However, John continued his disrespectful behavior, affecting Kevin's dignity. A few days later, John was summoned to the police station for an important meeting. He was surprised to discover that Kevin, whom he had treated disrespectfully, was the new vice president of a major company collaborating with the police department. During the meeting, Kevin was introduced as the person who would lead a mandatory sensitivity training session for the officers, emphasizing the importance of understanding and respecting differences among communities. In the training session, Kevin used the story of his encounter with John to illustrate the harms of prejudice and discriminatory attitudes. John felt his face flush with embarrassment and began to realize how his actions had affected others. After the training session, he started reflecting on his old dreams when he first became a police officer. Dreams of protecting justice and fairness. John decided that he had to do something to make amends for his mistakes. He sought out Kevin and offered a sincere apology. Kevin, calmly, listened and accepted John's apology. It was a moment that marked true understanding, as both realized that change was not just about outward actions but also about internal transformation. The story continues with John starting to participate in more community activities, especially those involving groups of people he had once been prejudiced against. He sought to learn about the cultures and lives of different people, thereby increasing his empathy and exploring aspects he had never understood before. Kevin also became a friend and mentor to John on this journey. Through many encounters and long conversations, John began to understand more clearly the difficulties and challenges that minority communities face. He realized that his past decisions and actions had cost him the opportunity to build empathy and connection. John also began to change the way he approached his work. He became more patient and respectful in his interactions with citizens. He sought to resolve situations constructively rather than confrontationally and rigidly. These changes brought John closer to the community. The story of John and Kevin became a symbol of personal change and empathy in a diverse society. These real moments and successes contributed to reducing the divide between community groups and building a fairer society. The story will continue with different details about John's life, the difficulties and challenges he faces as he tries to change his character and attitude. He will encounter situations where he has to confront people who reflect his former self, people who also carry the same prejudices that John once had. He will have to find ways to persuade them, as well as seek empathy and understanding. In Kevin's life, the story opened up many new opportunities. Kevin was not only a company vice president but also became a human rights activist and served as a bridge between communities. He participated in many talks, discussions, and activities that helped increase empathy and understanding among people in society. The challenges and difficulties faced by John and Kevin became vivid testimonies to personal change and growth, contributing to a better society. Their stories would continue, with new twists, new conversations, and new steps forward in confronting prejudices and different attitudes. After apologizing to Kevin and starting to participate in community activities, John realized that change could not happen overnight but had to be a long and enduring process. Kevin became John's unofficial mentor, helping him gain a deeper understanding of the issues that minority communities face. John began joining social support groups and even started learning about movements advocating for the rights of Black people and other vulnerable groups. One time, Kevin invited John to a community gathering in an impoverished area where Kevin had once lived. John had the opportunity to meet and talk with the local residents. From single mothers, young people struggling to find jobs, to elderly individuals living alone. These stories made John deeply understand the daily hardships and injustices they faced. He realized that his work was not just about patrolling and arresting people, but also about protecting and helping the vulnerable. John began to change the way he approached his work comprehensively. During a patrol, he encountered a young man sitting on the roadside with a sorrowful expression. Instead of being suspicious and questioning him, John approached and asked how he was doing. Listening to his story, the young man had just lost his job and was worried about how to support his family. John referred him to an employment support organization he knew. This was a significant change in the way John perceived and treated the people he met on the street. Kevin also continued his efforts to bring about social change. He organized many workshops and talks on the importance of understanding and respecting one another. He became a role model in the community, respected by many. One time, Kevin invited John to join him in a talk at a high school. There, John shared his own story, the mistakes he had made, and how he learned to change. The students listened intently, and many asked John how they could contribute to making society a better place. Over time, John and Kevin became close friends. They not only worked together but also frequently met up, sharing their lives. John invited Kevin and his family over for dinner, and in return, Kevin invited John to participate in important family celebrations. These gatherings were not just opportunities for the two men to understand each other better, but also for their two families and cultures to meet and connect. One day, Kevin received an invitation to attend an international human rights conference. He decided to invite John along as a companion. During this trip, John had the chance to meet and listen to stories from around the world. He heard about the injustices many people faced, from issues of racial and gender discrimination to matters of religion and human rights. These stories made John realize that even though he had changed significantly, there was still much more he needed to learn and do to contribute to society. After returning from the conference, John decided that he would not stop at changing himself but also had a responsibility to spread these positive values to his colleagues and the surrounding community. He proposed to his superiors to organize training sessions on communication skills and conflict management for police officers. He also invited Kevin to be a speaker at these sessions. John's efforts began to pay off as many of his colleagues also started changing their approach to work, becoming more open and empathetic towards the people they met in their daily duties. Kevin and John were not just two individuals who had changed. They were also sources of inspiration for many others. Their story was widely shared in the community, in the media, and on social platforms. They became symbols of positive change, showing that no matter the starting point, no matter the mistakes of the past, with determination and empathy, people could change and make a difference. John and Kevin's story continues. With new challenges and opportunities, they kept learning and growing, always seeking ways to make society more just and compassionate. They understood that the path was not easy, but they also knew that every step, no matter how small, could bring about significant change. In the end, this story is not just about John and Kevin but about all of us. It reminds us that even though we may have prejudices, fears, and ignorance, we also have the capacity to change, understand, and love. If we open our hearts, listen, and learn from each other, we can together build a better world for everyone. To continue this journey of change, John decided to dive deeper into complex and sensitive social issues. He started working with nonprofit groups to help the homeless and those in difficult situations. John participated in food distribution programs, healthcare support, and organized community gatherings to better understand what people faced. One cold evening, while distributing food in an area for the homeless,
John met Mistress Alice.
a woman who had lived on the streets for over 10 years, Her story of losing her family, job, and self-esteem touched John's heart. He began to realize that people like Mrs. Alice were not failures but victims of harsh circumstances. John also began spending time talking to teenagers at risk of falling into crime. He wanted to give them more opportunities to change their lives. During one meeting, he spoke with a group of young people in a poor neighborhood. He listened to their dreams, their aspirations for a better life, but were hindered by family and societal circumstances. John realized that without timely support, these youths could easily fall into crime. He decided to work with nonprofit organizations to set up educational and vocational training programs for them, giving them a chance to become independent and rise in life. Kevin also continued his journey as a social activist. He organized many discussions on human rights, not only locally but also internationally. Kevin attended conferences in many countries, sharing his and John's story as proof of positive change. He went to Africa, where he met with other social activists and shared experiences in combating racial discrimination. There, Kevin also participated in educational support activities for children in poor areas, helping them gain access to knowledge and change their lives. One of the most memorable moments for John and Kevin was when they were invited to attend a United Nations meeting on human rights. There, Kevin gave an emotional speech about his and John's journey, about change and the importance of empathy and understanding. John stood by Kevin's side, listening with pride. He realized that he had come a long way from being a police officer with deep-seated prejudices to becoming an advocate for change and justice. Kevin's speech received enthusiastic support from the audience, and both became role models for building a better society through personal change and relentless effort. Their journey was not just a story of personal change, but also about how to create positive impacts on the community and society. John and Kevin proved that anyone, regardless of their starting point, could make a difference if they were willing to open their hearts and take action. Through community activities, talks, and sharing, they inspired thousands of people, from high school students to international leaders. John and Kevin's story continues. With new challenges and opportunities, they faced hardships together, and each day was a step towards building a better world. The values they shared, empathy, understanding, and perseverance, will continue to spread and inspire others, helping them overcome prejudices and build bridges between communities. John and Kevin's journey is a testament to the power of change and the importance of compassion. Though difficulties and challenges lie ahead, they know that every step forward, every small action can contribute to changing the world. That is the most powerful message their story conveys. That we all have the capacity to change and create a better future for ourselves and everyone around us. This story will continue, with new chapters being written through determination, perseverance, and the desire for change. John and Kevin, along with all those pursuing these positive values, will continue to inspire and lead a new generation on the path to building a just, compassionate, and loving world.